July 9th, 1755. The morning General Edward Braddock marched 1,400 of Britain's finest soldiers into the forests of Pennsylvania. He believed he was invincible. By sunset, 2/3 of them were dead. This is the story of how the world's most powerful military machine broke. To understand the failure, you first need to understand the machine. European warfare in the 18th century wasn't chaos. It was mathematics. A science so precise, so refined, that armies moved like clockwork. Soldiers trained for thousands of hours, not to think, but to obey. 3 shots per minute, advance in line, hold formation under fire. This wasn't just military doctrine. This was the foundation of empire itself. Because discipline, true discipline, made the impossible routine. It turned ordinary men into instruments of conquest. It made 100 soldiers worth 1,000. On the open fields of Europe, this system was unstoppable. But America wasn't Europe. When European commanders first studied maps of colonial America, they saw something that didn't exist. Roads, clearings, battlefields. What they found instead was a green hell that swallowed armies whole. Forests so thick you couldn't see 30 yards. Swamps that turned roads into mud. Rivers with no bridges. Mountains with no passes. Lieutenant James Cadwell wrote to his family in 1756. His words were simple, but haunting. We march for hours and see nothing. No enemy, no end, just trees. For soldiers trained to fight in formation, trained to see their enemy across an open field, this terrain was more than difficult. It was impossible. Your 3-man deep firing line? Useless when you can't stand 3 men wide. Your coordinated volley? Meaningless when you can't see who you're shooting at. Your cavalry charge? Suicidal in a forest where horses break their legs. America didn't just resist European tactics. It made them obsolete. But terrain was only half the problem. The other half never fought fair. Native American and colonial militia tactics were built on a philosophy that European officers found incomprehensible. One British captain called it skulking warfare. A French commander termed it savage combat. What they really meant was, we don't know how to beat it. No formations, no frontal assaults, no honor-bound rules about when battles begin or end. Just patience and precision. An ambush could come anywhere, at any time, from any direction. You might march for days, seeing nothing. Then, in seconds, your entire column is under fire from enemies you can't see. Return fire at what? Shadows? And when you finally advance to where you thought they were gone. The numbers tell the story European commanders couldn't accept. Sergeant William Hughes kept a journal during the French and Indian War. His entries from early 1757 show something breaking. February 3rd. The men are disciplined and ready. March 18th. 2 sentries vanished last night. No shots, no screams. April 2nd. I gave the order to hold the line. My voice, I could barely hear it myself. European military training had a fatal assumption. That fear could be controlled, managed, channeled. But that only works when men know what they're afraid of. How do you control fear of nothing? Night attacks became psychological warfare. The enemy didn't even need to strike. Just make noise in the darkness. Fire a single shot, and watch European discipline evaporate. At Fort William Henry, entire companies refused to leave the walls. Not because they were cowards, but because their training, their entire system, had no answer for an enemy that rejected its rules. You can't shame men into courage when the world itself has become incomprehensible. Faced with failure, empires don't adapt. They escalate. Britain sent more troops, better weapons, harsher orders. And when military solutions failed, they turned to terror, collective punishment, forced relocations, targeting civilians when soldiers proved unreachable. Because if you can't control the battlefield, you control everything. The failure of European tactics didn't end European colonialism. It just revealed what empire really costs when power meets resistance. History teaches us that empires are inevitable, that superior technology, discipline, and resources always win. But America proved something more dangerous. That power is only powerful when the world agrees to play by your rules. European soldiers didn't lose because they were weak. They lost because they brought certainty to a place that offered only questions. And questions don't surrender. Next, the desertion crisis of 1758, when soldiers stopped fighting the enemy and started running from their own side.